What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mac, and today is a pretty exciting day. Most of the capacitors have showed up. There are a few that are actually too big that I need to return, but for now, we're gonna get going. Okay, so we're here in my tech room, and the modules are still sitting here on the bench, but I was going through the EQ. I wanted to actually do the EQ first for some reason, not any reason specifically, but there's some of these caps in here, these 470 microfarad caps, and then also there's this one over here that's 100 microfarad. Those are the ones that I just mentioned I've ordered now twice, and I do take the size, but the thing is they don't make this exact size of that cap of what I'm trying to get anymore. So, or at least I can't find it. So I've been trying to just see what I can make work, but the last stuff I got, they were still a little bit too big. So I'm actually going to pass on this module for now. But I do still have these two modules, which is the mini fader section and the compressor preamp module right here, which this is the one I'm actually going to start with. It's got a ton of these 33 microfarad little purple caps. And on the front, there's not much in here, just a few. So I'm going to start with these, and we'll move this mini fader to the side. So while I wait for the desolder iron to fire up, I wanted to just talk about kind of what my plan is here. Obviously, I'm recapping this stuff, but my goal is to be in and out very fast. I'm going to use flux on stuff just to make it go smoother. If you've watched the last video, I've done already a bunch of work down below in the mix card cage, and it's just inevitable. Some of the traces were lifting up. When you're doing that many capacitors, that stuff's kind of inevitable, mostly because if you've read some of my comments, this board was worked on by so many different techs, and the quality of work was all over the place. So some of the stuff got really hot beforehand, and some of the stuff that I had to work on was repairs that had been done that then failed again, and probably not just a good process of doing stuff, you know what I'm saying? So that is just kind of my goal, is just be in and out quick, use flux. Yeah, let's get to it. It's kind of a better angle to see inside. These are all these purple caps is what I'm going to be working on. There's a few down here and one big one on the other side with the knobs. Not much is going on in there, just a few. So it'll be pretty easy. So let's move to the top-down view. I think what I'm going to do is just work my way from on this board down, and then I'll work down this way. Alright, so while this video is playing, I figured I would try something new and kind of just tell you a story about how I found the console and how I got it to Denver from Memphis, because it was quite the process. So I found the board on Reverb, the app. I have been watching it for a while actually, and kind of debating, looking at some other boards. Originally I was looking at a Neve Genesis Black, one of the new boards, but it was just a little bit out of my budget at the moment, so I was looking on Reverb for something else to kind of get into. I came from a DDA AMR 24 console, and I had some issues with it, and I needed to move on, and I wanted to upgrade anyways. So this console was up on Reverb, and I made a deal with the studio that was selling it, got it for a good price, and then when it came to actually getting it to Denver, back in 2020 or 2019, when I bought my first console, the DDA, I got it from a studio in Nashville, and I used a freight company called Craters and Freighters, and it was maybe $2,500 to get that big console shipped back to Denver from Nashville at the time. And they even took it back to the warehouse, put a crate around it, and so when it showed up, it was in this big plywood box, like how you would normally see a console move. and it was great. $2,500 worth it. So I just called that same company, and the quote in 2024 of August was like almost $10,000. And I like could not believe that. So I shopped around a little bit, but that was pretty much like around there, you know. It wasn't getting much better. So my biggest plan, like, I was definitely not going to pay almost $10,000 to have it shipped. So my plan was I will go out to Memphis, which I did. I bought a one-way plane ticket. I flew out to Memphis. I think I got to Memphis around 2 p.m. in the afternoon, maybe 3. And then I got the U-Haul truck, like a box truck, and drove to the studio. Or from the airport, I went straight and got the box truck. And then I drove to the studio, met up with the engineers. The owner of the studio was actually on tour with Justin Timberlake at the time, I think, if I remember correctly. So he wasn't there, but the head engineer was there and a couple other ones, and a cool tech guy that they used sometimes was there. And I got to like chop it up with everyone, and they were kind of disassembling the console as we're there. And then once we're in the studio, the guys were like, okay, so what's your plan to get it into the truck? And I'm like, yeah, I figured you guys would have either more help or you would have like told me I needed to figure this out type thing. But long story short on that, the owner of the building actually owned a moving company as well. So we quickly were able to get a moving crew that I had to pay for, which at this point I'm just like, whatever, I need to get this thing in the truck and I want to go back to Denver. So the moving crew comes in. It was like 5 or 6 guys, and they get it really carefully out of the studio. Such a process. It's sitting on like this thin little flimsy metal frame type thing. It's very sturdy when it's sitting on it, but when it's not sitting on it, it's just like this flimsy little thing. So they picked it up off of that, and then they had to hold it outside of the van, outside of the truck, while we brought the frame out and set it up, and then align it inside of the truck onto the frame, and then rebolt it to the frame a little bit, since I was going to be strapping it down and driving across the country basically. And it was pretty funny though. And then it was packed to the brim in the truck, and then I had the Flying Faders computer up front in the front seat with me, and some other stuff like spare parts and the manuals and stuff. And so I'm driving, and by this point, I got to Memphis, to the studio, maybe like 3:30 or so. We got the board in, and I was ready to leave around like 8 or 9 p.m. at night. So I head out, drove through Arkansas. Started raining like crazy, so I wasn't gonna stop. That was originally my plan, to not stop, but with the rain I was like, I should stop. So I tried to stop. I got to like Oklahoma or something, and there was just no available hotel rooms because the rain was so bad. Everyone had already pulled off and got the room, so everything was booked. I tried like 5 or 6 places. So I ended up just getting back in the truck. I was also nervous about like getting out of the truck in a place in the middle of the night that I didn't know, with this board in the back, like, you know, a big purchase, all that, like, just nerve-wracking, you know. So I ended up kind of sleeping for maybe like an hour in the parking lot of a gas station. I was still awake and aware of what was going on around me, but able to rest my eyes enough to knock off that sleepy feeling and get back on the road. And I just kept plugging along. So I finally got back to Denver around, I think, 2 p.m. the following day. And I just got back to the studio, pulled the truck on the side of the building, and waited for like a day. It sat in the truck for like a day because I needed to just completely recoup from that drive. I drove straight through from 9 p.m. to 2 p.m. the following day, from Memphis, Tennessee to Denver, Colorado. It was just a lot. But I got the board finally. I pulled it up. Actually, the studio has a garage door to the lounge, which then has the hallway that goes down to the live room. And I pulled the truck up to the garage door maybe two of my engineers and some other helpers that I called in, we all got it lifted out as one unit on the frame and everything. Really easy and smooth. Got it into the lounge of the studio, and at the time I still had the DDA console in the room, and I needed to finish out some sessions in that studio before I could move the Neve in. So it sat in the lounge for about a month, but once I got the sessions finished up and the DDA moved out, which was a lot easier to actually get out because that console breaks down into two pieces really easily, so two people could get that console out of the room within like 30-40 minutes. But I got that all done, got it out into storage and moved the Neve in, which was a whole process, and I'll probably go over that in the next video for the solder. But yeah, that's how I got the console back and how I found it, and I just thought that was a cool little story to add. So alright guys, so I got a lot done on the compressor preamp module. I actually did have a few issues with lifted pads on the back of this, which I think is the compressor module, the compressor card. Yeah, I had some pads that lifted, but I managed to get the pad back down onto the area. I didn't use glue, but with flux, I was able to kind of get the solder to flow through the card to the other side. It's not the best way, I guess, but it worked great, and I'm moving through. It actually only happened on two little areas, so I have a little video of that. I'll put that in next. But yeah, I got that done. I'm going to clean this one up. The next one I'm actually going to work on is the mini fader section, which I have right here. This one I think has the most caps in it, so this one will be fun to get into. I think that this is going to be the most cap work is in this card. But yeah, and it actually, I'm looking at it now, I can tell this got really hot in certain spots. So I'm a little bit hesitant to work on this one, but I am going to get through them because I need that. And some of the other things that I was going to mention was I'm actually still having some issues on the EQ module, which I wanted to, like I mentioned in the last video, do first for some reason. But I'm having problems finding some of the capacitors that are the right value. I mean, the right size. The value I'm finding, but the size is like I'm not matching up. And I actually do have a list from Musgrave that is all of the caps for Neve VR, and it has like Mauser links and everything, but some of them are discontinued, and some of them are from they have such a high tariff, it just like doesn't make sense to pay, to me at least, to pay for that, at least yet, when a lot of this stuff is minimal difference as far as the capacitor choice, I think. So I mean, you have to choose correct ripple rate and stuff, but I don't think it's making that huge of a difference inside as long as I'm staying consistent. That's kind of my goal there. So I found some replacements, but like I mentioned before, I'm having some problems finding the right sizes, but I will track them down and get those in on the EQ module. That's really the only one. There's like 4 caps, but yeah, I think we're making good progress. One of the other things, oh yeah, that was what I was going to mention. One of the other things is on these modules, all these pots, I was doing some investigating and I saw a guy online who actually, he did like an ultrasonic cleaning to the switches in the pots. And it has me really curious about that because, you know, with these switches and the pots, like you can't really get inside of them. And these consoles were from back in the day when people could smoke cigarettes inside of the studio. I don't think a lot of them let you do that anymore. We don't smoke in here in this room, but you know, a lot of weed smoke and a lot of cigarette smoke gets into this stuff, and kind of like that's what makes these pots go bad. And yes, you can use deoxit, but I think that like a better solution, instead of just getting deoxit further down and jamming more bullshit down into these mechanisms, would be to ultrasonic clean them. So that's something that I'm actually investigating, because I think actually with the pots, for the knobs, those might not be able to be ultrasonic cleaned, just from like my thinking about how like the mechanical, but these plastic switches, those could absolutely be taken out and ultrasonic cleaned. And there's different solutions to not really hurt that stuff, but I think I could harm the pots. So I might actually just use deoxit on those. A lot of them feel good. It's just, I don't know, like this one is a little tight and that one's loose. You know, it's just like inconsistencies. And I think that maybe some deoxit would help. And I know from experience with other consoles, you could be surprised. Deoxit can really bring some vintage stuff back. You know what I mean? But just trying to go the best route about it and get as in depth about it as possible, and bring this back to, like I said in the original video, its original glory. So that's something I'm investigating, and I'll keep everyone updated on that. But for now, I'm pretty happy. I mean, this one video, I'd say probably that cap work, I didn't even cover the whole thing, but that was probably 2-ish hours. And I stopped a few times to talk to some employees and stuff. But yeah, I think I'm making pretty good progress. So yeah, 4 channels at a time. I'm going to start on this end of the console and get 4 done from the tech room, which are modified. If you remember from my last video, I had the 12 in this bucket. Only 2 of them are still modified, and then 10 of them are just stock channels, non-modified by Mad Labs. That's what I'm working on recapping, is the Mad Labs modified ones, and I'll put them in here. And as I work through, I'm going to take caps off of, you know, different knobs and stuff like that and get them right. And I'll work my way down. So then by the time I get down here, I'll be putting these channels basically in that bucket. And I've already done some, not really research, but just kind of like some measurements for this, where this Flying Faders keyboard is. I took the measurements of this plate and kind of got like an idea together, and talked to a buddy who welds. He's going to build me like, it's a plate that sits in, but then it's kind of like it's level according to the console kind of, so it'll be flat. It'll kind of like go into the console a little. And I'm going to put some USB power cords right there, which will be good because like we have the wireless mouse and the wireless keyboard. It'll be good to have the wire there. And I might actually try to get the Ethernet cable from the control, the monitor control from the Dangerous remote right here into there, so that the cable kind of like, I can have the slack down into this, but just a little bit comes out to the controller right here, so I don't have the cable coming over here. Little stuff like that, you know. And then also, it's hard to believe, but these VU meters didn't have bulbs in them. So I might try to do something and retrofit something behind there just to like have that glow. I think that would be cool. But yeah, I'm super excited to keep going on this. Track down those other capacitors that I need and just get this thing, you know, rolling. I mean, it works, like I said before, but it needs to be more consistent across all the channels so that we can use it for more than just tracking bands. That's all I got for this video, guys. I mean, really, I just got one module done, and it's taken a while, like everyone probably anticipated, but I'm getting through it, you know. In between sessions and everything else I got going on, I'll get through it, but I'm excited for it. It's going great. This board is going to be amazing when it's done. It already is amazing. But yeah, until next time, thank you so much. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tell your buddies about this build that I got going on. I'd like, you know, any input from anyone who's worked on these boards, tech-wise, or just, you know, working on them. I love to hear the stories in the comments, all of that. It's great. I love that stuff. But yeah, until next time, guys, thank you.